through the institutionalization of an effective, efficient, functional, and culturally sensitive IP youth program in all NYC offices. And the objectives are to establish and institutionalize IP desks with reference to the IPRA law in the NYC Central Office, to facilitate the creation of IP youth organizations and encourage registration and participation, to develop a culture-sensitive module that will be used by both NYC and NCIP and other partner agencies, among others, Your Honor, just to heighten awareness, I think, and a participation of our indigenous peoples and our youth, Your Honor. And there was also an MOU, or a Memorandum of Understanding, between the NYC and the BJMP to forge a partnership in support of holistic and inclusive development programs for the youth of our PDLs and our youth persons deprived of liberty, or youth PDLs, including those incarcerated for terrorism-related cases in the country, covering the program's framework, scope, terms, and conditions and responsibilities of the participating parties in dealing with the youth of PDL and youth PDL, including those incarcerated for terrorism-related cases. Same to. There is they made a call for a just transition framework in addressing youth and climate issues in coordination or collaboration with the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung Philippines and the Youth for Just Transition Network, Y4JT. They commenced a series of just transition community rollouts starting in the municipality of Nagcarlan, province of Laguna, on June 24, 2023. And the NYC also has been issuing positions on certain programs and policies, like the passage of the Young Farmers and Fisher Folk Challenge Program Bill that's pending, I think, here. So they appeared here to support that, Your Honor. They issued policy advisories on the SK elections, encouraging the youth to register and participate in the recent SK elections. They facilitated the conduct of 3 National Advisory Council meetings presided by the DepEd, knowledge management system capacity building for NYC personnel, and preparation for an audit and preparation and for audit, Your Honor. And on the policy side, Your Honor, they have accomplished a number of things through the following policy advisories. Number 1, a resolution approving the NYC's official position to the proposed act to include in the curricula of all public and private high schools and colleges a course on necessary life skills. Secondly, a resolution approving the NYC's official position to the proposed Magna Carta for out-of-school youth. I think this was heard by the Committee on Youth here at the Senate, Your Honor. We had one hearing on that. A resolution approving the Philippine Youth Development Plan, that was mentioned earlier also. A resolution approving the NYC's official position relative to proposed House Bills 0079, House Bills 0079, 2062, and 5559, these are bills on the Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Act, Your Honor. Fifth is a resolution approving the NYC's position relative to House Bill 2524-3211. This is the act creating comprehensive policy enabling youth participation in adolescent pregnancy prevention. And resolutions on relative to 21st century school boards and school governing councils in LGUs. Resolution creating the Fraternity, Sororities, and Youth Organizations Monitoring Office within the NYC. Resolution encouraging youth to adopt youth-led climate actions for a sustainable future in celebration of Earth Day. Resolution approving the DILG, CWC, and NYC Joint Memorandum Circular on the development of activities for children and youth in street situation. A resolution approving NYC's official comments and recommendations to House Bill 1948, entitled Expanded Government Internship Program. Resolutions approving the IRR for RA 11913, known as National Youth Day. Also resolutions supporting the passage of legislation for the Young Farmers and Fisher Folk Challenge. Resolutions calling for the adoption of a just transition framework in addressing youth and climate issues and securing meaningful youth participation in the transition process. They've also provided technical assistance to SK officials and local youth development officers. 20,865 SK officials, and they exceeded their target of helping 120 local youth development officers, and actually assisted 264 local youth development officers, Your Honor. In terms of youth mobilization, the NYC mobilized 824 youth organizations for various advocacies and has also gathered 190 advocacy plans from various youth organizations. And there is the government internship program where the NYC celebrated the graduation of the first batch of 2023 GIP trainees from the commission. This was last May. There was a second batch of all, again, 5 trainees last August, and a third batch of same number 5 trainees are now undertaking the internship program until November 22, 2023, Your Honor. There's also the National Youth Parliament in Calibo, Aklan, where 10 policy resolutions were presented and adopted by 10 committees led by their committee chairpersons. Each resolution was meant to address recurring issues, challenges, and concerns of the youth in their respective communities. And these were turned over to the NYC through Commissioner-at-Large Lawrence Anthony Diestro of the Commission and to Governor Jose Enrique Miraflores of Aklan, the province of Aklan. And the NYC also conducted an assembly in Cebu City for Region 7 in partnership with the city government of Cebu. And an NYP assembly for Region 1 was also conducted in Ilocos Norte last September 2023. And they've also conducted a webinar of SK Game Kanaba for all aspiring Sangguniang Kabataan in partnership with PH Lead last July and August, online seminar po ito. And this one tackled policies and guidelines governing the SK as well as programs and projects led by SKs, Your Honor. And they also have youth statistics for 2022, and these are accessible and downloadable at NYC, https nyc.gov.ph 2022 Youth Statistics Update. And they have a mental health youth hub for women in public service at Women in Public Health. This was last March 25. They also had a Kamustahan Mental Health Youth Camp conducted last May 19, 2023 at the Ateneo Nenaga University. This aimed to equip young people with essential knowledge about mental health, empower them with the sharing of best practices, and enhance their skills and tools for conducting mental health campaign. Medyo maganda ito, Mr. President, dahil as mentioned by our colleague Senator Win, talagang on the up po kasi yung mental health cases and issues among our youth. So very timely ho itong ginawa nila sa Region 5, Your Honor. And then 100 youth campers from 18 senior high schools of Valenzuela City completed the Kamustahan Mental Health Youth Camp and submitted 16 project proposals addressing mental health concerns. There is also Kamustahan in the province of Aurora, my province, Your Honor, funded by the provincial government of Aurora. And there is a NYC and DDP joint youth camp in Paete, Laguna, tackling also, again, the topic of mental health, Your Honor, and as well as teaching the youth to resist the allure of drugs. And similar youth camps were also conducted in Quezon City and other places, Your Honor, as well as the Ilaya Barangka Integrated School. Saan yan? Ilaya. Anong province yan? And then 4 delegates were in Jakarta last April 2023 to represent the Philippines at the ASEAN Youth Dialogue in Jakarta with the digital development theme, digital development for sustainable goals theme regarding digital innovation and how it can contribute to the SDGs being met, Your Honor. And then 22 Filipino youth were also assisted in discussions at the Genesis Free and Open Indo-Pacific Exchange in Tokyo, Japan last March 2023. And then there's the program of the SAYAP. That's a recurring program, I think, for the youth, where they meet with their counterparts from other Asian countries, Your Honor. And there was a global youth summit in Seoul, South Korea, where we sent 3 Filipino youth delegates. There is, for communications, there is a communications plan, and there were 17 media activities, as well as 177 press releases regarding their policy advisories, which were mentioned earlier, the resolutions adopted. And of course, on social media, Your Honor, they've been also communicating their programs on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. And they've registered youth organizations in the totaling 4,683, and youth volunteer programs numbering 823. Also, Linggo ng Kabataan, among others. And they've also had activities with the Bangsamoro Youth Commission, discussions regarding potential areas of collaboration, and the collaboration with Australia, OKY period tracker app launched on May 26, highlighting the importance of menstrual health information for Filipino adolescents in preparation for Global Menstrual Hygiene Day, observed every 28th of May. Also in partnership with the DepEd, the DOH, the POPCOM, the NYC, and with support from UNICEF and the Australian government and Plan International, Your Honor. So these are some of those achievements, and seems they've been quite busy.
Thank you, Mr. President.
With the indulgence of the minority leader, I'd just like to ask the chair.
Yes, certainly, Mr. President.
It's very impressive, no, the programs of the NYC as enumerated. But as the author of the SK reform law, I did not hear any program on leadership training for the SKs, because by law, Mr. Chair, that's one of the main duties of the NYC, to provide leadership training for the Sangguniang Kabataan. That's why we reformed the said law to make sure that the SK this time will move in the right direction, Your Honor. I'm sure the minority leader would appreciate this, no? Coming from the NYC and also the JCI, which is a leadership development organization. So we would want to know so that we can put the necessary budget for the training of the Sangguniang Kabataan to make sure that they will be developed and mature as good leaders, Your Honor.
Yeah, that's a good point, Your Honor, and we acknowledge that. I remember you worked with some of our colleagues to pass that reform, and we passed an amendment to that a few years ago. It's a very good law. It seeks to modernize the SK. You championed that. There is I've been informed, Your Honor, that there is a national youth convention in December where all the SK Federation presidents will be present, or invited rather. There's about 1,800 of them, and there will be leadership training programs there pursuant to the law you authored, Your Honor.
Well, that's good to hear, and I would like to request of our chair, NYC chair, who has been there for quite some time. I know that this would be a priority. I hope you prioritize the leadership development program of the Sangguniang Kabataan to make sure that the law will live up to its purpose.
I think they should invite the author of the law, Your Honor, to speak at the
The chairman always invites me, and every time we're available, we go, because we support the NYC.
Yes, Your Honor. And you're very knowledgeable about this, being a former president of the JCI, like our colleague, who's also a very renowned and proud, the pride of the JC's movement, Your Honor.
That's correct.
Thank
Not
you.
only JCI, he's also a former NYC.
Yeah.
That's right, that's right. Correct, correct.
Former General Legal Counsel of the JC, Mr. President. And it's timely because you have a newly elected batch.
Yes, exactly, sir. Yes, Your Honor.
Very timely.
You're correct, you're correct.
So we thank our chairman, Chairman Ronald Cardema, for coming prepared. Tinanong ng accomplishment report. Ilang index cards yun, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Sponsor?
Nawala ako sa bilang, Your Honor. Natuyo yung laway ko sa kakabasa ho, Your Honor.
Sige po. So, you're prepared. And then your budget for next year is 165 million. But so how much of that amount is for your PAPs? Yung binanggit ninyong achievement ninyo, you were able to achieve those with the funding of just how much?
Well, their MO is 78.
78.
For this year, it's 71 million, Your Honor.
Yes.
For next year, it will be 78 million.
So 78.
Their personal services component is 80 million for this year and 77 for next year. For CO or capital outlay, it's
Yes.
4.9 million and then 9.2 million next year, Your Honor.
Yes, so for around 70 million pesos, yan ang report sa atin in Chairman na they were able to accomplish all of those things. Do you receive funds from some other source Outside of the GA, wala, nothing. Yun
No,
lang
but
talaga.
they're welcome to receive, Your Honor.
But tahimik si Chairman. I mean, he has not been requesting for anything, so I think he's happy with his budget. I think. So, but Chairman, 6 million. Okay.
They're asking for, requesting for 6 million, Your Honor.
6 million.
For the summit, Your Honor. So maybe we can,
the-
but that's for this year
For
already.
this year yun eh.
Maybe we should talk to the DBM.
Yes, we're
to-
talking about the 2024 budget. So,
Baka that is good for the contingent fund, Your Honor.
Yes,
Baka pwedeng
just prepare-
marilisan sila dun sa contingent fund.
is that a yearly event? Then let's anticipate. Lagyan na natin yung 2024.
Yes.
Ganun dapat ang
Ayun,
planning.
yeah, we'll convey that. I think tama yung point ni Minority Leader. For next year, this is the right time to request for any additional budget. Kasi medyo wala nang power yung Congress for this year's budget. It will have to be executive action. Tama ho ba, Minority
We
Leader?
just finished the SK elections. Any report from the NYC? Was it a successful one? Were there many vacancies? Marami bang di natakbuhan kasi because of the anti-dynasty provision introduced by our chair?
Yung feeling of position.
Kumusta siya? Can we call it a success? Even the interest?
Yeah,
the
the chairman believes it was a success, Your
the
Honor.
number of people who ran, who filed their certificates of candidacies?
Yeah,
Young
there
people?
were 92,774
So,
certificates of candidacy filed for SK chairperson. There were 493,000, over 493,000 COCs filed for SK members, Your Honor. It was quite a...
siguro, bigyan na lang tayo ng report ng NYC through its chairman kung, especially if there were, or there are vacancies because of the law, the legal requirement that no relatives can run. Mga
Yes,
ganun.
Your Honor.
So that we get feedback. Ito na kasi yung
Yes.
application ng batas po.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you just give us...
That's why it's such a good law, because that's the first law to actually implement the anti-dynasty provision in our Constitution, Your Honor.
So this is this is now the life of the law, the
Yes, sir.
experience in applying the law. So
Yes,
feedback, please, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Kaya,
sir.
Mr. Chairman, you mentioned in your achievements, you want necessary life skills to be taught in our schools. Did you succeed in getting this into the new matatag curriculum of the DepEd? Nabanggit mo sa necessary life skills sa accomplishment report.
Pero yung ginawa nyo, na nagbigay nyo ba sa DepEd yan? They made the submission, Your Honor, to the DepEd.
Do we know if
Matatag
DepEd
curriculum.
entertained us? Kasi they reduced the number of competencies na tinuturo from
Yes, Your
11,000 to 3,000. So,
That's right. There was a strict
maganda ito,
lining.
necessary life skills. Galing ang idea sa report ninyo. So, I just want to know kung if you're able to push it. Pwede pa, nasa pilot, nasa pilot stage pa lang po yung matatag curriculum.
The chairman is not sure, but he'll get back to
Yes,
you, Your
please,
Honor, on that.
Please,
Kung na-adapt talaga.
Napakalaking achievement po ninyo yun because more than just passing resolutions, etc. So it seems, Mr. President, that me being unaware of the activities of the NYC is not the fault of the NYC, but is proof that I am no longer part of the youth. Mahirap pa kasi i-convince ang sarili ko, Mr. Chairman. Akala ko youth pa rin.
Wala na yata sa senador. ang
Ano
youth,
bang definition natin, Mr. Chairman? Ano youth? Anong age range nun?
It's 35 under the UN.
Under our law. Did we follow the UN?
30 ho tayo dito sa,
Iba yung law natin.
sa bansa. 30.
Ngayon ko lang na-realize, ang tagal na palang wala na ako sa youth sector. So thank you for that, Mr. Chairman. Is the Bureau of Fire here?
Yes,
My
sir.
good friend.
Director Purakan is
Yes,
here.
my good friend, Director Purakan.
Yes, opo.
Ito lang po, sir. What is this issue raised in the House of Representatives that there was a lone bidder for fire trucks? Ano po to? If you can give us some more information, or has this been settled or clarified? Issue kasi, sir, na...
I think I was told that the House wanted to investigate why there were always three winning bidders, Your Honor, in the biddings conducted. So they apparently they conducted an investigation, but there were no findings that there were any irregularities in the biddings, Your Honor.
The fire trucks that we turned over to the beneficiaries, were this part of the biddings being questioned by the House?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, ayusin nyo, Chief, basta sunod na tayo sa batas para wala po tayong issue. So cleared na po yan? Clarified na with the House of Representatives?
Magra-wrap up na lang.
They're wrapping up, Your Honor.
I think from the briefer I got, the allegation is a contract of 1.2 billion pesos, malaki-laki din yun, which went to one bidder, one contractor, siguro one supplier. So can you furnish us a copy rin of that report? Kasi we don't want to be a party.
Yes.
Any-
They will update you once the House releases any report.
I hope-
And
I hope there were really no shenanigans there, Mr. President, because we don't want to be a party to any
Yes, certainly.
shenanigans, Mr. President.
You're correct, Your Honor, and we'll.
Ang habol lang natin is just to turn over the
Opo,
fire
opo.
trucks that,
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yes,
that are
Mr.
requested by our constituents, Mr. President.
Yes, Minority Leader, Your Honor.
So thank you for that, Chief. And then, Chief, meron pa pala isang issue about this, meron pa ba kayo nakaparking na pera sa PITC? 905 million? More than 5 years na po, nandyan?
I see. Your Honor, out of the 98 fire stations, which were supposed to be procured through the PITC, only 9 have actually been completed and delivered after 5 years, while 52 fire stations are 75 to 99% complete. The BFP is currently in coordination with the PITC to cancel or drop all fire station contracts which are below complete or below 75% complete. And thereafter, the BFP will take over to complete the projects before your time.
Yes, sir.
These contracts were before the time of
They will take over now the contracts.
or rebid. They will rebid the contracts, Your Honor.
The PITC, the amounts will be returned by the PITC to the BFP?
Yes, to the BTR, Your Honor.
To the BTR?
Opo.
So do we need to do anything to allow you to access the amount? Forfeited na ba yun?
They're waiting for the cancellation of the contracts with PITC, Your Honor.
O nga, if it will be canceled, sabi nyo, balik ang pera sa BTR, is that still deemed lodged within your bureau? And you can implement the program or the plan? 5 years ago na po, more than 5 years ago na eh.
They will have to request the money again.
Precisely.
Sir, yeah.
Precisely. Sige. Okay, so siguro when that condition happens, Chief, you just make the request. And don't make the same mistake. Diba? Parang mistake yung na pinasa sa kabila.
Yeah, hindi po sa kanila, hindi po panahon ni Director
yes,
Furacan ho ito eh. So I think under his watch, hindi na PITC ang nagbibid ho nung mga...
Thank you for the
fire
reforms,
stations, Your Honor.
Director. Thank you for that. And congratulations. Ang daming, pero actually, ang dami palang humihingi ng fire trucks. Ano ba situation natin, Director? What's the ideal? 1 fire truck per town, per municipality? Is that the ideal?
At least 1 fire truck in every municipality is the ideal, Your Honor.
Okay, so anong status po natin ngayon?
With the indulgence again of the minority
Ayan,
leader, siguro the correct question, out of the more than 1,500 LGUs, ilan pa yung walang fire trucks and fire station? I think what we would want to know.
Municipality.
Pero, Mr. President, sometimes yung iba na meron ng fire truck, ang sasabihin nila masyado ng dilapidated.
No, but there are still LGUs that do not have a
Meron
single
po.
fire
Ito
truck.
po.
Yes, not
I'm about to read it, Your Honor. It's 121 municipalities without fire station. Fire truck. Fire station po yun, fire station.
I hope lang that we...
That's automatic. If you don't have a fire station, you don't have a fire truck. That's automatic, okay?
Pero mas marami po yung walang fire truck o 202 municipalities,
Dami.
Your Honor.
So we're just also, with the indulgence of the minority leader, just a reminder again to the BFP chief to prioritize again those do not have fire trucks and fire stations. Wag nang, sabi nga namin, ulitin ko, nakikita ko may mga cities, first class municipalities, nakakakuha pa eh. Kayang bumili ng cities and first class municipalities. No, I hope that you'll prioritize those LGUs that do not have a single fire truck, 200 of them, and fire stations.
That's a good point, very good point, Your Honor, Mr. President. Yeah.
Yes, yung
Yeah.
wag naman maka-second round yung iba na
Unahin
hindi
yung
pa
mga wala talaga.
Hindi pa naka-first round yung iba. So anyway, 202 should be prioritized for fire trucks, 121 should be prioritized for fire station. Magkano to, Chief? If you estimate him. Siyempre, meron siguro tayong cost per station and cost per fire truck. Ito, pag suma total po natin ito.
For the 121 fire stations, assuming a cost of around 10 million, it will be 1.21 billion, Your Honor. For 164 fire trucks, at a cost of 15 million, that's around 2.46 billion, Your Honor.
Okay. And we are funding some of these amounts in the 2024? To the tune of, if yes, to what amounts?
It does not itemize, Fatima, hindi itemized naman dyan.
It was yung 55 naging fire station, sir. Tapos, yung fire truck natin, sir.
There is a budget for 55 fire stations, Your Honor, in 2020, for 2024, totaling 550 million. And 48 1,000-gallon fire trucks, totaling 720,000, Your Honor. Million, sorry, 720 million.
Okay, so at least dinadahan-dahan na po natin. Meron po tayong meron po tayong fire code revenues. And am I correct? As of middle of this year, the balance is around 4.8 billion pesos.
Yes, Your Honor. Yun yung tinatanong kanina ni Senator Bato. Yung kasi may cap na 1 billion lang ang binibigay dun sa fire code.
Magamit doon.
That's the only amount, that's the ceiling for that they're authorized to use. So they're interceding na, although the committee report raised it to 3 billion, they're interceding that they be allowed to use the entire amount so that sa mas madaling panahon, mamimit na po nila yung requirements or yung shortfall, Your Honor.
And our committee report authorizes the use of 3 billion.
3 billion, Your Honor.
For what, Mr. President?
For whatever they need to buy, Your Honor. Whether it's fire trucks or fire stations, Your Honor.
We did not limit the discretion, Mr. President, in our committee report. Is it to be treated as a general fund of the BFP?
No form, no.
Or
The provision is, if I may read, Your Honor, with your permission.
yes.
The amended paragraph will now read as follows. Fire code revenues, in addition to the amounts appropriated herein, 3 billion pesos shall be used for the modernization of Bureau of Fire Protection, including the acquisition and improvement of facilities, purchase of fire trucks, firefighting, and personal protective equipment, emergency and rescue equipment sourced from 80% of the taxes, fees, and fines collected in accordance with Section 13 of RA 9514 as amended, Your Honor. So it authorizes the acquisition of the said aforementioned properties, Your Honor, are real or personal.
Is the language clear enough for to build a fire station?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so thank you.
Acquisition and improvement of facilities, purchase of
Facilities.
fire trucks,
Thank you.
firefighting, personal protective equipment, emergency and rescue equipment, Your Honor.
So the pending request is to
Is
allow the use of that
To remove any cap and to
1.8.
allow them to use the entire amount, Your Honor.
1.8.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sige. So that's our policy issue for us, remaining policy issue for us, Mr.
Yes, Your Honor.
So thank you for that, Mr. President. So can I now, can I just make that it's due to the lateness of the hour, siguro just a manifestation na lang sa NCMF. My good friend Jean Mamunjong is here to just submit to me a report because I have received complaints about the Hajj. Yun
Yes, the committee actually asked for that during the committee, Your Honor. So we'll just furnish you what
meron.
they furnished us and ask them if they have any additional submissions.
Okay.
We'll also furnish
Okay, so
his good office, Your Honor.
thank you for that. As the chairman of our committee, did this honor find the explanation satisfactory?
Well, marami naman silang recommendations, Your Honor, in fairness to them. It seems that they really want to, of course, I think Director Mamondiong is new. So, I mean, it's his first year. Tama ba? First year, second year na po. So, I think they're learning as we go along. So, going forward, I think they will have better handling of the Hajj and the pilgrimage to the Hajj and among others, Your Honor. Yeah.
Yeah, Gene Mabunjong is a good friend of mine, Mr. President. He's a very dedicated public servant. So. Well, Mr. President, BJMP is here.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes,
Maraming tanong
Director
sana sa
Rivera is here, Your Honor.
Maraming tanong sa BJMP, pero parang Bucor din po ang mga katanungan natin dyan. Pero,
Apo.
sige po, yung atin na lang jail congestion rate. How is it, sir?
There's a 353% congestion rate, Your Honor.
353%.
Apo.
Okay, so any solutions in mind, Mr. President, from the BJMP?
Well, of course, an increased budget would help, Your Honor, for improvement and repair of jail facilities. Maybe coordination with the local government units for lot donations or use of RAP to use other facilities. Implementation of plea bargaining to qualified PDLs charged for violation of RA 9165. This is a drugs-related law. Paralegal programs, intervention programs, like the therapeutic community modality program, Your Honor.
So parang naghanap din tayo ng buildable space para sa problema ng classroom pala ito. Kumusta po response, Chief? Kumusta response ng LGUs?
He says that the director says that there are LGUs which donate lots or willing to donate lots. Yung funds for construction, I think, is the shortfall, Your Honor.
Your budget is 23.8 billion. So ano po bang gamit nito?
Breakdown. Can I have the breakdown?
Wala pong konti lang po rito yung to build, yung CO, to build new jail facility.
Capital outlay is only 39 million of that 20
39 million. So there's really no plan to build. Tama, Chief? There's no plan to build for next year?
Minimal.
He says they requested 5 billion, Your Honor.
5B.
5B. Opo.
And the BJMP is requesting this because it is shovel ready? Ready na? I mean, use of rock contracts or whatever, deed of donation, we are already in control of the lots? Mr.
Yes,
President?
yes, Your Honor. They are shovel ready.
Oh, really? Oh, sayang,
Pakabawiin.
Ni-
Pakabawiin yung lot.
5B.
Pakabawiin yung lote. Pag,
Yes, we were not able to convince the DBM, Chief, to fund.
well, apparently it was included in their tier 2. So maybe it should have been included in their tier 1 submission, Your Honor, to,
Okay.
I don't know, that's my understanding of budgeting. When the agency requests, yun yung pinaprioritize yung tier 1 eh. So,
Yes, may I ask the Chief, Mr. President, what has been the trend in our jail congestion rate? Yung 353% tayo ngayon eh. Pero if you notice the trend, is it going down, going up?
it's been going down, Your Honor. Yung,
Going down pa ito,
going down po.
353%. So to what do we attribute the trend, the downward trend, Mr. President?
There have been involvement of paralegals with the courts, so I suppose this results in greater number of people being, or their cases being processed and perhaps being released, Your Honor.
Okay. Wala, you don't have the discretion like sa Bucor yung yung program yung mga good conduct time allowance. Wala sa inyo kasi detention yata kayo eh.
Meron daw ho, Your Honor.
For those 3 years and below, ang ang sentence, ganun ba?
Meron po, there is the RA 10389. This is an act institutionalizing recognizance as a mode of granting the release of an indigent person in custody as an accused in a criminal case and for other purposes. They've been coordinating with courts for a speedy disposition of cases. There is the Office of the Court Administrator Circular Number 201-2022. This is the non-issuance of a release order upon completion of service of sentence and submission of reports from authorities having custody of persons deprived of liberty. Yeah, those are some of the
Yes.
and implementation of paralegal programs. I think I mentioned.
From experience, Chief, Mr. President, how has the court been reacting to yung motions for release on recognizance, Mr. President? Open bank courts.
Yes, he says they've been very receptive and they have a summit. He told me there's a summit coming up where they meet to discuss some of these issues, Your Honor.
Yun yung in lieu of bail, no? In lieu of bail. Kasi minsan, siyempre bailable karamihan dyan except wala talagang pera.
Bayad po.
Chief, what happened to this Iloilo District Jail incident? Are you familiar with this? There was a protest on the roof of our building, prison building. Settled na po ito?
It's been settled, Your Honor.
Yes,
according to
of
the-
course, nag-issue sila, meron silang rineraise na mga issues na address na po ba natin yun?
It's been addressed, Your Honor. Yeah.
Mabigat po yung issue. Lack and poor quality of food in the facility. Relief of the jail warden. Hunger. Oppressive jail policies. Chief, how did we address this? Mabibigat ang issues. Hindi lang po. Siguro kung napatahimik natin sila, hindi ibig sabihin solve na yung issue eh. So what did we really do to solve the issues?
Warden, pinalo na yung warden. They replaced the warden, Your Honor.
Okay, and then, how about the food? Ano nangyari? So, if we replace the warden,
They're increasing their monitoring to ensure that the quality of food served is sufficient, Your Honor.
although the budget remains the
Budget has
same
not
at
changed, Your Honor.
70 pesos per day.
Yes,
Tama
Your
po,
Honor.
Chief, no? Same as Bucor.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so, well, anyway, at any rate, yeah, I don't know, yung quality of your water, quality of the water, siyempre, are we paying attention to that? The water, which is the drinking water of our...
Okay naman ho, the quality of water is okay, Your Honor.
There is a bill transferring the supervision and control of provincial jails to BJMP. Are you aware of the bill? May we get the position of the chief? I'll just take advantage of the fact that he is before us.
They're in favor of that bill filed by Senator Bato.
How many jails will be affected? Ilan pa ba itong provincial jails not yet under the supervision and control of the BJMP?
Over 80.
Lahat ba yan? So the rule now is wala, all provincial
69 po ang maapektuhan ho.
69.
Apo.
But there are around 80 provincial jails. So 10 or more are already under the control.
11 are already under the
11
BJP,
pala.
Your
Okay.
Honor.
Sige po. And this was done because of parang MOA.
Yes, Your Honor.
So by law gagawin natin by so omnibus transfer. So thank you, Chief. For the Philippine Public Safety College, Mr. President, siguro
Thank you, Kuya. Thank you, Ren.
ano na lang siguro, just a report because we looked at the COA observations, mga cash advances. Malaki-laki din po, mga 3 million pesos. receivables, etc. Just a report na lang, sir, on how we are addressing the COA findings. And then hopefully by next year, wala na po ito. Dapat na-address po natin.
Yes, Your Honor. They will furnish.
Can you remind us of the mandate of the PPSC? What is the mandate?
Sir, premier education and training institution for
The premier training institution for
personnel and officers of the BFP, BGM,
for the personnel of BFP, BJMP,
PNP, sir,
and the PNP, Your Honor.
government agencies.
So BFP, so all of those armed and uniformed agencies under the DALG? Yun po.
Interior sector, sir.
Is our idol, the Senator General, the only 8-star general in the Philippines, the one of two 8-star generals in the Philippines, Senator Bato, a product of the Philippine Public Safety College?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Kaya pala ganun kagaling, Mr. President.
Opo daw.
Ganun po kagaling.
He took several courses, Your Honor.
It took several courses. Okay, sir. So congratulations for that, Chief. General, how do you call the head of the PPSC? What is your position?
He's the president,
President ang tawag siya.
Brigadier General Fernando Ferdinando Sevilla, Your Honor.
You have no confidential fund? Wala.
Wala po, Your Honor.
Tama po. So thank you for that. Actually, yung COA findings mo, hindi naman ganun ka-scandalous yung levels po ito, mga 3 million, but still, please, para malinis. Opo. Thank you, sir. And then I think last but not the least, Mr. President, ito na lang naiwan sa yata sa atin, our NAPOLCOM. Itong NAPOLCOM ang critical eh. I mean,
Thank you, President.
okay, tell me, Mr. President, if my understanding is erroneous. Hindi po ba ito rin ay taga-disiplina rin ng ating kapulisan?
In a sense, yes, Your Honor, because they decide on the administrative cases, Your Honor, and these cases, of course, will affect promotions of our police and our uniformed personnel, Your Honor.
Is the system working, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President?
Yes, they believe so, Your Honor.
How many cases are pending and what is our the disposition rate and how many officers are we disciplining, Mr. President?
Decision rate ito. They have a case resolution efficiency figure of 47.9%, Your Honor. This is for the period of 2002 to this year, November 8th.
That is the what case? What is that
It's
called?
called case resolution
Resolution.
efficiency,
Yes, okay.
Your Honor.
47%.
Apo.
Apo.
So out of a total caseload of 912 for the period, they've resolved 437, and there are pending 475, Your Honor.
That's is that the current workload of the NAPOLCOM?
Yes, those are the most recent figures, Your Honor.
Okay. So, ano yun, parang running total of pending cases? Ilan po? Around 400 na lang?
475 pending cases.
Yung ano na po, yung aging po nun, aging per case, meron pong gano'ng katagal na yung pendency nung iba?
Average duration,
Yes.
duration of the
Yes.
case.
No, those remaining na 400, how old are those cases?
Ang case. 18 months to 3 years, Your Honor.
Mag-zero backlog tayo, sir. I mean, kaya ba? Do you have a program for 2024?
They're aiming for a zero backlog next year, Your
Yes.
Honor.
How much are we funding that program?
It's the same budget, Your Honor.
How much nga, sir? Magkano kaya yung budget? And under what program yun? If I study your budget, saan program mahanap yung efficiency po ng case resolution po natin? Tignan nyo nga, anong program niya?
Yung
Ganun
budget.
pala. Magkano ba yun?
What's the item?
2 billion din ang
Yung
budget. Pero,
sabi niyo same budget. Ito rin, Apple alin dito? Each one funds yung case and those deciding with administration of di mo obsada.
sabi nito, magbalik na ng PNP to. I-blatter. Ano yan, malinis na. Tapos na. Ito rin. Ito yung i-blatter niya. I-blatter sa amin. Super duper. At yung isa yung promotion ng police.
Etong tatlo, sir. Etong tatlo po. Ito po tatlo.
Yes, sir. Super duper.
Under the Police Administration Program, there is the Police Supervision Sub-Program, 223,849,223 million, yan. Of which oversight 37.5 million is for the oversight of police administration operations. 20 million is for development and administration of PNP entrance and promotion examinations. 165 million is for inspection and audit of PNP offices, monitoring and review of NAPOLCOM policies and standards. 228 million goes to police disciplinary sub-programs, of which there is the management of police summary dismissal cases, adjudication of appeals, renditions of opinions, and legal services. Those are some of the budgetary items which go towards the adjudication of cases, Your Honor.
Sige ba? Of course, observing due process, no? We want the zero backlog, but observing due process, both procedural and substantive.
Yes, Your
So
Honor.
what are these NAPOLCOM standards that were mentioned, Mr. Chairman? What standards does NAPOLCOM issue to affect what?
Evaluation of NAPOLCOM policy and standards. Ano daw yan? Saan nakalagay yan?
Hindi ako masyado familiar nito. Ginawa niya na ako yung memory ito. Paulit-ulit. At nga ba, hindi ko naintindihan. Ano ba talaga job nito NAPOLCOM?
Sir, mga appeals, yung mga cases.
Promotion, wala silang pag-alam. Standards. Disiplina talaga sa police.
Team standards being referred to.
Disiplina talaga.
The standards being referred to, read out earlier, are those contained in Section 53 of RA 8551, Your Honor. These are pertaining to the summary dismissal powers of the National Police Commission, the PNP Chief,
Sige.
and the PNP Regional Directors, where after due notice and summary hearings, the NAPOLCOM, the Chief PNP, and the PNP RDs may immediately remove or dismiss any respondent PNP member in any of the following cases. A, when the charge is serious and the evidence of guilt is strong. B, when the respondent is a recidivist or has been repeatedly charged, and so forth, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
That's the provision, Your Honor.
Thank you. So sa madaling salita, sir, sa mga nanonood pa sa atin sa oras na ito, and I'm sure meron pa, tinitignan namin, mga hundreds pa rin nanonood sa live stream ng Senado. Sa maikling salita, ang NAPOLCOM ay isa sa mga ahensyang pwedeng takbuhan ng ating mga kababayan kung makainkwentro sila ng abusadong pulis. Tama?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you present in how many areas of the Philippines?
17 regions, sir.
17 regions, Your Honor.
There's a NAPOLCOM in every region, and most
Yes, sir.
likely it must be located in the capital city or capital town. Andun siya.
Yes, Your Honor.
So sa maikling salita, yun po yun. So the head is here with us. How about the pleb system, sir? The pleb system, which is in the local government code. Alam ko that's also part of the disciplinary system for our police. Is it working? Opinion na lang po ng ating NAPOLCOM head.
Yeah, he thinks it's working, Your Honor. It's a part of the disciplinary mechanism where a complaint by persons can be brought against members of the PNP to the People's Law Enforcement Board. Isa yon sa mga pwedeng
Do your procedures overlap? at some point, Mr. President?
We have common procedure, sir. PNP, pleb, and NAPOCOM, sir. Same procedure.
They have common procedures, Your Honor. So that's PNP, local governments, mayors, as well as the pleb, Your Honor.
Are pleb decisions of the same force and effect of the NAPOLCOM decisions?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Only appealable to the regional appellate. The same, sir. They can demote and they can dismiss.
Yes, they can also demote and dismiss, Your Honor.
Yes, eh. So marami tayong
Tools.
yes, two mechanisms for the grievance of our people against abusive policemen and police officers. Kasi yan ang gusto natin mabawasan, yung pag-abuso eh. Ito may halong showbiz pa nga itong balita, Mr. President, yung ating, although it's a very unfortunate incident, yung may missing beauty queen tayo. Well, I'm not judging the person of interest, but nami-mention din po na he may be a member of the police force. So yung mga ganon, Mr. President. So at least malaman po natin mga kababayan that we have the systems in place, mechanisms is in place. Yeah, we have just to make sure that it's working. Whose job is it, sir, to make sure that the pleb system is working?
NAPOCOM, sir. We issue rules and regulations and monitor.
The NAPOLCOM, Your Honor, because they're the ones who issue the rules and regulations as well as monitor the plebs, Your Honor.
Can we get a report, sir, on both na lang, on both NAPOLCOM achievement report and pleb achievement report?
Yeah, we will comply, Your Honor. We will comply.
So I'm assuming that the NAPOLCOM monitors all the organized plebs and then their achievements.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
What is the law? Is a pleb to be organized in each city or city? How about a municipality?
All cities and municipalities, Section 43.
All city.
All cities and municipalities, Your Honor.
Okay, so there's no pleb at the provincial level.
In the city and municipality.
Ayan.
Sa city and municipality level.
City and municipality. So kung 1,500 ang municipalities and then ang cities 150, 1,650 yung universe natin, ilan na po ang may pleb?
All of them, sir. All of them, sir. Meron, sir, sangguniang resolution, funding din.
Pero merong walang pleb na city or municipality.
Meron lang active kasi walang puso. Pero all municipalities.
All of them have some, but as to levels of activity or activeness, Your Honor, it varies greatly. Merong walang mga complaint, may walang
Itatanong ko yung workload, yung caseload.
Opo, meron daw wala talaga. Opo.
So on paper, per data of the NAPOLCOM, all our cities and municipalities have organized their plebs.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So people can run to pleb, people can run to NAPOLCOM, and people can run directly to the hierarchy of the PNP, right? Oh, if they have complaints against abusive police officers or PNP personnel. Is that a correct statement, Chief?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Head?
Yes,
How do we
correct.
call the head, sir, of the NAPOLCOM?
Vice Chair and Executive Officer.
Vice Chair and Executive Officer of NAPOLCOM, Your Honor.
Executive Officer of
Because I think the chairman is the
DILG.
Secretary of the DILG, Your Honor.
So I think with that, Mr. President, meron din po kayong mga COA findings, pero just if you can just submit to me your replies or your response to the COA and how do you intend to address the concerns of the COA, Mr. President.
The regional officer.
So-
They complied with the liquidation of the classified files and granted, sir. We will submit it.
They will submit, Your Honor, the details.
So I think with that, Mr. President, I will terminate my interpellation on the
Thank you. Thank you very much.
DLG family, and congratulations. Some of you came prepared, some not so prepared. But alam niyo na yung effect ng coming not so prepared. We will see you again. Pero at any rate, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Thank you to you, Minority Leader, and to our DILG family also, especially the ones who supported the resource persons and the heads of the different agencies. Salamat po. Salamat po, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, the distinguished gentleman from Cavite, Senator Francis Tolentino, is will no longer ask questions on the budget of the National Commission on Muslim Filipinos, but just like Senator Coco Pimentel, he wanted a report on the Hajj um, program, Mr. President.
Yes, Your Honor, we will ask the Commission on Muslim Filipinos to comply, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, there being no other reservation for interpellation, I move that we close the period of interpellations and debate and consider the budget of the Department of Interior and Local Government, Bureau of Fire Protection, Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, Local Government Academy, National Commission on Muslim Filipinos, National Police Commission, National Youth Commission, Philippine Commission on Women, and Philippine Public Safety College to be deemed submitted to the body's consideration. I so move, Mr. President.
There's a motion of the Majority Leader to close the period of interpellation and consider submitted the budget of the Department of Interior and Local Government and the agencies mentioned by the Majority Leader. Is there any objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I ask for
Mr. Majority Leader, with your permission. So the motion of the Minority Leader stands. I just want to clarify regarding the PNP coming back.
Yes.
They're not among the ones that
We did not
that have
mention
been
the
discussed.
Philippine National
Okay, I
Police.
just wanted to clarify and be sure,
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yeah, so they will come back next week, if I'm not mistaken, or next week, depending on the schedule of the Committee on Finance.
Oh,
Yeah.
we copy.
Mr. President, may I ask for a minute suspension and perhaps so we can prepare for the budget of the Department of Foreign Affairs. So move, Mr. President.
Session suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we consider the budget of the Department of Foreign Affairs, Office of the Secretary, Foreign Service Institute, Technical Cooperation Council of the Philippines, UNESCO National Commission of the Philippines, Presidential Commission on Visiting Forces, and acknowledge the presence of its officials led by Secretary Manalo and our undersecretaries present here today. We now recognize, Mr. President, the distinguished sponsor of the measure, no other than our Senate President pro tempore, Senator Loren Legarda, to sponsor and to interpolate our distinguished colleague from the province of Bohol and Davao, no other than Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. I so move, Mr. President.
Yes, we'd like to recognize our distinguished sponsor, our Senate President Pro Tem, Senator Loren Legarda, and to interpolate our distinguished colleague from Bohol and Davao, Senator Bato de la Rosa.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Before that, thank you, Mr. President. Your subcommittee G is ready to present the budget for the Department of Foreign Affairs and its attached agencies. I will no longer read all the attached agencies and the budgets. Let this be placed in the record, and I'm ready to be interpolated by Senator Ronald De La Rosa. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Good Sponsor, Madam Chairman. I have only one question, and this pertains to the issuance of passport. Madam Sponsor, for the record, during one of our committee hearings, it was confirmed by the Bureau of Immigration and the National Bureau of Investigation that they were able to intercept about more than a dozen of Filipino passport holders who are obviously not Filipinos. And it was confirmed further that these passports were really authentic. So what made us alarmed is the fact that this involves national security. Dahil, Madam Sponsor, baka mamaya itong mga Chinese speaking individuals who are not really Filipinos, baka nagkalat na yung passport doon sa kanila, and before we know it, we are already being surrounded by operatives of maybe from People's Liberation Army or whatever, whoever those people are. And talagang delikado yung sitwasyon natin kapag ito'y mapababayaan. Kasi tingnan mo, yung isang ordinaryong Pilipino ay hirap na hirap magkakaroon ng passport dahil nga sa in-schedule pa, maraming requirements. And itong isang Chinese na hindi Pilipino, nagtataka tayo, bakit napakadaling makakuha ng passport na gano'n na lang. So, just for the record, Madam Chair, gusto ko lang parating itong issue na ito. And I would like to inquire from you if this issue has reached the attention of DFA, may we know what are the actions that they have undertaken so far in response to this particular issue?
Thank
yes.
you. I appreciate Senator De La Rosa's intervention and question on this alleged issuance of Philippine passports to Chinese nationals. Yes, it is a national security issue. Yes, it should not be taken lightly, but also we should not allow that the budget of this department be held tonight as late as it is at 11:18. But I will answer your question first with the official statement of a DFA, and second, I will give you my personal feelings about it. First, the DFA is actively engaging law enforcement agencies in investigating the matter and in pursuing the filing of appropriate criminal charges against these foreign nationals who are able to obtain a Philippine passport. Second, the DFA notes that these foreign nationals pose themselves as Filipinos by assuming Filipino identities through the presentation of authentic and genuine PSA birth certificates with valid government-issued identification cards that are accepted for a passport application. Third, the DFA further notes that some of these foreign nationals pose themselves as persons with disability and presented authentic PWD IDs. In doing so, these individuals are escorted by their immediate family members and relatives during the passport application. Fourth, to address the cases of document and identity fraud, the DFA is working closely with the PSA for the integration of systems that will allow our frontliners to quickly validate the authenticity of PSA documents, and they are looking to sign into MOA with the PSA soonest to operationalize the foregoing. And fifth, the DFA highlights that it has engaged the Bureau of Immigration. I think part of your information came from the Bureau of Immigration as well, the National Bureau of Investigation. And these agencies must also look into themselves if part of the syndicates are into these agencies as well. The Philippine National Police, who had just left the hall tonight, and the Philippine Statistics Authority, who was here yesterday. All of these agencies must consult each other to strengthen the cooperation and discuss ways forward on how to prevent similar cases in the future. I am not happy with this, what I read. And I will state that, Mr. President. While these are diplomatic answers to your question, and they're valid, yes, they're looking into the way forward. But yes, I agree with you. And before we went into our formal session, we had this discussion. We will not let it pass. And I would welcome the resolution that Your Honor and Senator Tolentino will file to look at it through the Blue Ribbon Committee or other relevant government agencies, because it may not only be the Department of Foreign Affairs. Because to be able to secure authentic documents like a birth certificate and other requirements, it means that there are sources. I would no longer say the place where the Senate President mentioned that there could be possible sources in certain areas of the country. But my question to the agency, whose budget I am defending, is that I would like to know who is the head of the passport division? Who were the officers and staff during the time that these Chinese nationals applied for the passport, even assuming they applied as PWD with relatives, even assuming that they applied that they cannot speak good English, even assuming that they said that they could not speak in Filipino or English. Napakaliwanag na po, para higit pa sa sikat ng araw, kung si Bay Pilipino na hindi lang marunong mag-Ingles o Pilipino, at kung hindi naman Pilipino. Kaya nararapat lamang na alamin natin yung lugar, saan man nag-issue ng passport, yung oras, sino yung officer in charge, at sino mismo yung tao na nasa window, nasa desk, na nag-issue po niyan. Siguro naman po, sang-ayon, sigurado ako, si Secretary Manalo, dahil ito'y napag-usapan natin bago tayo nag-session ngayon. So, for me, the way forward would be isang masusing investigasyon sa Department of Foreign Affairs. 2 araw pa lang nakakaupo ang head ng Passport Division, ASEC Adel Cruz. ASEC. Right? ASEC Adel Cruz. I'm not pointing to the previous person who was in charge of this post, but we must look into the dates when it was issued, and you have it on record. And today's only Thursday. Perhaps we will give them till Monday at 12 noon to give us the list of those alleged Chinese nationals and who was in charge, and to ask the DFA personnel, why did you do that? Ganun kasimple. Ang tanongin, sino ang head nun at sino ang nagbigay? At sabi nila, kasi po kompleto. May birth certificate, may PSA, may NBI clearance, etc. Aalamin din natin sa PSA, nakahapon ng pinasa natin ng budget, aalamin din natin sa BID at sa NBI. Tatawagan ko bukas ang head ng NBI tungkol dito. Maari na lahat ng mga ahensyang to ay may galamay sa mga kumuha ng mga authentic documents. It's not even fraudulent. These are authentic documents. That means there could be collusion of Filipinos I'm not stating that with certainty because I only discovered this tonight from Your Honor. But I share your outrage that this happens kung ang ordinaryong Pilipino ay nahihirapan kumuha ng passport pero ang Chinese nationals ay nakakuha hindi lang isa, hindi lang dalawa, kundi dose-dosena. Assuming totoo yung inyong report mula sa inyong hearing na galing nga sa DFA kasi maari din naman na mukha lang totoong passport pero hindi naman galing din sa DFA. Kaya I will withhold my rage and outrage, although it's very, very disappointing. I would be so incensed and disappointed if that came from the DFA. Having said that, I thank Your Honor for bringing it to our attention because it is not a matter of just a passport. It is a national security issue. And right here in Metro Manila. So thank you, Your Honor.
Madam Sponsor, may we know if, as we speak right now, their investigation was able to pinpoint responsibilities, people responsible in the issuance of these passports. If meron na silang na-identify so far.
Within DFA.
Yan, October. Siguro, DOJ.
Hindi ay na budget po under DOJ.
With the
May mga news article din kami. May mga news article din na
Do I tell you the truth? Whether they say there's an investigation, but I'm not certain at what level the investigation is. They said that they are coordinating with the CIDG. Honestly, I'm sorry, sir. I'm not content with the answer. However, I will not hostage the budget of the DFA, an agency and a department I love dearly, and it is not the fault of this gentlemen and women here, but we will find out, and I request that the information on the duty officers at the time so that you can do your own internal investigation.
Yes, Madam Chair, for the record, that information came about during the committee budget hearing at the committee level of the DOJ budget. That was October 9. So more or less 1 month ago, Madam Chair. So I hope patuloy yung investigation.
If I may, to my distinguished colleagues.
Yes.
I also got a report, and I think Secretary should know this, that there was a town in Mindanao, particularly in Caraga, and I wouldn't want to divulge the town tonight, in fairness, so that we don't put them in a bad light until we find out the details. But accordingly, the NBI is already doing an ongoing investigation. That's why I don't want to name the town. But there's a town in Caraga which are giving out birth certificates, and they caught several Chinese nationals that speak no English, nor Tagalog, nor Bisaya. Okay na sana kung Bisaya kasi taga Caraga. Don't speak Bisaya, that have been able to acquire birth certificates from this town. So nahuli ng NBI and they're looking at the syndicates involved. No? And then that's the Register of Deeds, I believe, of the town issuing birth certificates, that they are from that town, and therefore from that birth certificate, obviously, the next item on the agenda for these people will be a passport. So, because they are now considered Filipino, having been able to acquire a birth certificate illegally. So, I would like to move that with the permission of the majority floor leader, that the pertinent committees, for example, the Blue Ribbon Committee, as well as the committee of Senator Bato de la Rosa, Public Order Committee, take lead in coming up with a formal investigation on this, so that we look at the different aspects, not only from the DFA, but also from Philippine Statistics Authority, the Register of Deeds, Register of Deeds, yung sa register ng Civil Register, sorry, lupa pala yung Register of Deeds, Civil Register, Registrar of the towns involved that was told to me by the NBI. And of course, we have to go to the bottom of this. Ako naman, tama po yung sinabi ni Senator Lauren, siguro if the head of the passport division is here, is the lady or gentleman here of the passport division? The gentleman? I mean, it is very practical. Practicality lang po. Yung mag-a-apply ng passport kung hindi po marunong Tagalog, hindi po marunong mag-Bisaya, hindi po marunong mag-Ilocano, hindi po marunong mag-English, at halatang talagang he's a foreign national. And I'm not only nitpicking on one country, but he's a foreign national because, you know, there are undesirable aliens from other countries, pedophiles from Europe, pedophiles from the US, they come here, and then they get passports so that they can live here to avoid apprehension in other countries. So, out of practicality, siguro, there should be a second round of investigation before you actually issue a passport to these individuals. So, the motion, I think, is not objected by our colleagues. So we will proceed with the investigation as soon as possible, time after the budget is approved.
Thank you for that, Senate President. So we don't have to wait for a Senate resolution to be filed. That is converted into the resolution which is referred to the two committees which you mentioned. And, Mr. President, may I say that tomorrow, the DFA with the head of the passport division will do an internal investigation on who were the processors of the passport of the Chinese nationals. Secretary, that's in order, right? Okay.
Yes, and
President,
before,
if I-
yes, please.
I would just like to, again, first of all, I'd like to express my utmost disgust upon hearing this particular incident, Mr. President. Why? Because every single day I receive at least 10, 50 requests for assistance so that they be issued a Philippine passport, Mr. President. It's so easy, Mr. President, to accumulate all these requests every single day. And now you're hearing this, Mr. President. And upon the report a while ago, as read by the distinguished sponsor, that the initial investigation says that the documents were actually verified by the Philippine Statistics Authority, which we passed the budget yesterday, Mr. President. So I will actually move, Mr. President, that we reconsider their budget, Mr. President, and ask them.
Maybe instead of reconsidering, we'll just wait for the hearing na lang, the investigative hearing.
PSA, Mr. President, we have.
We can invite part of my motion was to involve the PSA instead of calling them back because I know they're busy with the GDP and growth rate discussions now. They're in the news earlier about the increase
Mr.
in the
President,
GDP.
if this is a national security concern, Mr. President.
Well, if it is the wish of the majority floor leader, we can ask them to come back.
Yes, Mr. President. I think the minority leader agrees with the 1 minute suspension. May I ask for suspension?
No, I will not persist if
Yeah.
the minority floor leader wishes to recall the budget of the PSA.
For the record, Mr. President, I join the idea and the motion of our majority leader.
Okay.
Pabalikin natin ng PSA. Actually, ang daming tanong. Kaya balik ulit tayo sa agricultural statistics. Kailangan natin balikan po yun. Ang daming problema talaga, Mr. President. So, well, pinalusot natin siya kahapon, but ito may bagong issue against PSA. I mean, it was really with a heavy heart.
With my apologies, minority leader, I just don't want to make it a precedence that we're going to keep asking agencies that we've already approved to come back. But this is a national security issue.
This is definitely.
I just don't want it to be a precedent
Yes, Mr.
that
President,
we'll just keep asking the agencies to keep coming back if we think of something.
We are funding their mga ICT programs to make them more efficient, supposed to be in detecting, fraud or whatever. So, yan ang tatanungin natin. balikan ulit natin ang funding ng mga ICT programs nila. How come it has proven to be ineffective as far as this issue is concerned, Mr. President? Tama ba yung narinig ko as explained by our sponsor? Upon the investigation of the DFA, they found that the explanation is that they relied on PSA certified basic documents, like the birth certificate. So we have to get to the bottom of this, Mr. President. Anyway, one agency lang naman, Mr. President. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'd also like to ask from them, let's say a 30-year-old man goes to that particular town, applies with the syndicate there to give them a birth certificate. What is the process now? The registrar will now file it with the PSA. So all of a sudden, the PSA will have a brand new registration. And then that should already raise red flags. Okay, there being no...
Before we suspend, Mr. President, because I was just
No,
about
not
to
suspend.
start.
I was going to move to
Yeah.
bring them to recall the budget.
Okay,
So-
Mr. President. So I will make it formal, Mr. President. We'd like to move to reconsider the submission of budget of the Philippine Statistical Authority and direct the LBRMO to issue the necessary notice and inform the body of the schedule of the PSA's budget discussion. So move, Mr.
There
President.
being no objection to the motion approved.
Thank you, Mr. President. But just to wind up, Mr. President, and this is what I wanted to share with the DFA family. I have so much respect to DFA family, to the Department of Foreign Affairs, especially to Secretary Manalo. But you know, to hear this kind of incident happening to other departments, perhaps hindi na nakakagulat minsan eh. Unfortunately, we have heard this in the immigration Philippine immigration, Mr. President. If you recall, when we conducted this representation, conducted the Senate Committee on Labor hearing 4 or 5 years ago, wherein we had that historic 1,200 human trafficking na nangyari doon po sa Clark. Tapos kinomend pa namin yung commissioner, Commissioner Argusino, if you recall, Mr. President. And then we found out there was a video with this guy waiting for 50 million bribe, Mr. President. And now, nung nakuha siya, binawasan pa ng 1,000, 49,999,000 na lang, Mr. President. So, yung mga ganon, minsan hindi na tayo nabibigla, Mr. President, pero if it happens to the Department of Foreign Affairs, medyo mahirap po isipin, Mr. President. Eh gaya po nung sinasabi niyo, Mr. President, face value pa lang eh. Hindi na makatagalog, hindi makabisaya, bihasa sa Chinese. Hindi ka pa ba mag-iisip na hakchaw ito, Mr. President? So, again, Mr. President, no, gusto ko lang sabihin, Mr. President, how many Filipinos, how many of our kababayans are still waiting for their passports? How many of them are asking for help every single day? Pagkatapos itong mga banyaga, ito na mga hindi natin alam kung ano yung mga klaseng pag-iisip mayroon sila, magkakaroon ng Philippine passport. So I just wanted to put on record that it's disgusting, Mr. President, and it's unacceptable. Kaya I hope and pray na may gawin ang ating departamento dahil nakakagulat po na ito yung nangyari sa Department of Foreign Affairs. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we recognize the minority floor leader, however, to our dear colleagues, let's put it in proper retrospect. No, there may be a few bad eggs in the Department of Foreign Affairs, but by and large, these people are a very professional group of diplomats, of government employees, government officials, makawani ng gobyerno. I must commend them just for the record because I think we're starting on the wrong foot. Instead of congratulating them, we're already berating them, including me, no? Because I brought up this issue on the passport. I would just like to put on record, Secretary, and the men and women of the DFA for doing a great job in rescuing the Filipinos exiting Gaza. The other day, your undersecretary is there, the one behind you. Secretary Vega, thank you. Thank you for a job well done, gentlemen and ladies. You guys are doing a great job in securing and making sure that our Filipino patriots or compatriots in Gaza and Israel are being safe, are sure of being safe and placed into safe havens. And we thank you for that. And I just came from three European countries for a parliamentary visit in the United Kingdom, to Spain, and to Hungary. And your embassy staff and officials were excellent. I have to say, they were top class. They were great ambassadors. Each and every one of the employees were great ambassadors of the Philippine government. So I thank you for that, for the service that you do. There are some bad eggs like the PNP. Hindi naman pwede natin latin na masama ang PNP lahat, or the other agencies. But I agree with my majority floor leader. No, we were a bit disgusted about this issue of fake passports. But overall, we must agree that overall, the DFA is one of the most professional, I think, well-liked agencies of government.
It doesn't change the fact, Mr. President, that until now, we feel, and this is my own personal point of view, that DFA is considered the cream of the crop, Mr. President, of all government agencies. And I still believe that, Mr. President.
Yes.
And that's why
That's true.
we feel that this is something that we need to really look into. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr.
Yeah.
President, the DFA bagged the ARTA report card silver award. It ranked first among all government
Ayun
agencies.
pala eh, papalakpak
Yes.
kayo.
Yeah, that's why
No, they're
it pains
good.
us.
They're very good people.
It pains us when there are reports that there are passports granted to Chinese nationals. That's why they need to do this internal investigation and come up with a report not later than Monday. And I appreciate the fact that the PSA and the other agencies will be called back here as well.
Well, no one is perfect, right? There's always some bad eggs in an organization. But with the secretary there and the undersecretaries that are there that are very professional, I know they can stamp out this, whoever, if it's a syndicate, they'll stamp it out.
And we are not certain that the passports were granted by the DFA because we do not know the results of the investigation. It is possible they don't
Yes.
print the old passports. They have a printer, Apple. They also have to be summoned in the Blue Ribbon hearing because it's possible they don't hold all the passports.
Yes.
The printer does. What
Yes.
if the Chinese nationals get it from the printer? I'm not accusing Apple,
Yes.
but there are other sources because I cannot for the life of me imagine any DFA officer or staff or anyone doing this or being part of a criminal syndicate.
Yes, that's
I
why I
cannot
wanted to
believe it.
put on record the good service, the great service that the DFA is doing. Gentlemen, ladies, we're very proud of you. So the budget, I believe we increased your budget, you deserve it. So, and I think that's the point of Senator Pimentel. He's going to ask what the increase is all about. But if you ask me, the DFA deserves the increase of their budget. So, maraming salamat, my dear sponsor. I just wanted to put that on record. Thank you for your service, ladies and gentlemen of the Department of Foreign Affairs. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. President,
Yeah.
Madam Sponsor, I am the one who interpellated you and I am the source of that information.
Yes.
Kaya worried ako baka mamaya pag ako'y mag-abroad, wala nang taga-DAP magsalubong sa akin doon sa airport. But anyway, hindi rin naman ako.
Ay, hindi sila ganyan. Senator Bato, they're not like that.
Yeah.
I guarantee you they're not like that.
I just want
They're
to,
very professional. I know you're just
I
joking.
just want to lighten up the mood dahil masyado na sila malungkot dahil it's already about 12
Almost midnight.
o'clock. And ganun pa.
No, the information, Senator De La Rosa, is, Mr. President, is very helpful. Because how would we know that this problem existed if you not inform
Yes,
us?
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
No, that is, you're helping the nation. By bringing about problems, it does not mean that you are destroying an agency. You're trying to solve the many challenges in governance.
Constructive
Yes.
criticism.
Anyway,
Make sure that you are fetched in the airport.
sigurado naman tayo na ang tatamaan nitong investigasyon ay yun lang talagang gumawa ng kalokohan. Hindi naman yung buong agency ang
pag-alala.
masisira dito. That is why, siguro, magpasalamat rin siguro ng DAP sa atin at pinalop natin itong problema na ito para ma-weed out nila yung mga skalawag kung meron man dyan sa kanilang opisina. So, that's
Thank
it,
you,
Mr.
thank you,
President.
Senator De La Rosa.
Yeah.
I'll participate in that hearing with you, what you will be calling, with Senator Tolentino.
Yes, Mr. President. And
Thank you.
sabihan ko lang yung DP, Mr. President, na they don't need to worry because I am not traveling abroad. I have no plans of
Obvious reasons.
traveling abroad right now. Thank you, Mr. President.
You may travel on certain countries only. Yes, our minority floor leaders recognized majority from minority floor leaders. Senator Coco Pimentel.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will keep this simple. I join our manifestation of our trust and confidence with our DFA as a department and the personnel. They are the cream of the crop, the best of Philippine bureaucracy, the best thinkers in our bureaucracy, critical thinkers, most disciplined, well-trained, professional people, Mr. President. So, and I congratulate them. So, let us support them. And then, ganito nga po I've noticed a 3 billion increase in your budget for 2024 compared to, so the proposed 2024 is 3 billion more than the GAA of 2023, NEP. And our committee report, Senate committee report, added 419 million pa to the office of the secretary. So, can I briefly just get an idea where the 3.4, the roughly 3.4 billion pesos will be spent by the DFA for next year?
Okay. Thank you, Minority Leader. You're referring to the 2024 NEP
Yes.
Senate version of 24 billion 280 million 490, correct? As compared to the 2023 NEP or GAA?
GAA.
GAA
Twen-
of 23 billion,
23 ba? No, that's 20.49, the GAA.
20 billion 621 463. Correct?
Okay, but let's say more or
Yes.
less 20 billion.
Okay,
So,
so the comparison is the GAA of present year
yes.
and the NEP for 2024. NEP, no, not NEP,
Our
the
committee
the
report.
Senate version.
Yes, committee report amount, yes.
You're correct. Okay. Let me just put on record, Mr. President, some increases. There's an increase in the MOE of 334.775 million to fund, where is the annex? To fund, where is the annex for details? Okay. To fund diplomacy program, formulation, coordination, and supervision of foreign policy. No, I need that also. Home Office, MOE, and there are, okay, there is MOE for the Home Office. There's also inclusion for Philippine studies in jurisdictions like Lisbon. And there's also the preparation for the Frankfurt Book Fair in 2025. That's only 2M in Frankfurt, Germany. There is a Philippine Discovery Literacy Program. There's Filipino Cultural Exchange Series. There's cultural engagement and collaboration initiatives. There is a monograph publication panel discussion with small island developing states of 5.738 M to document the Philippines' participation in the ICJ proceedings on the obligation of states under UNCLOS and to engage with relevant stakeholders, particularly the SIDS. There's funding for the arbitral ruling, the continuation of the groundwork, which started this year for the promotion and awareness of our victory in the Hague ruling. There's some development of research publications where we work with the DNR, the UP Marine Science Institute, environmental groups to bring attention to the fragility of the ecosystem in the South China Sea, West Philippine Sea, the mandate of the Philippines as a coastal state to promote sustainability. There's information campaign on UNCLOS and the rule of law in the ocean to support the program in the form of workshops and conferences. That's 3 million. There's funding, as I said, for the awareness on the arbitral award. I said that already. Of course, there's the need for a motor vehicle for the secretary. Dahil lumang-luma na po. Secretary of Foreign Affairs naman 3.6 million lang po yun. There is a book project on the legacy of the Philippines in shaping the international human rights framework of 7.45 M. And there's cybersecurity protection of the DFA. I will not go into the details, so that's around 33M. I will not go into the details kasi po malalaman yung gagawin natin dyan na baka ma-hack. Okay. And there's career minister leadership and management training of 2.8. There's and there are details about that. Those are just some
Tapa.
of the programs which are in addition, because when they presented the NEP for 2024, while there were very important programs, Mr. President, for the improvement of their foreign service officials, for our bid for the National Security Council, for our hosting of ASEAN, which was moved 1 year earlier because of Myanmar that asked us to hold it in 2020. So marami po. Eh, hindi naman lahat pinagbigyan po ng DBM sa Tier 1. So they come to us, to the chair, and to this representation so we can augment it. So these are many programs.
Which we did.
And I assure you, inupo ko pa si Secretary sa isang luncheon with these ASECs to explain to me one by one. And before that, we had several meetings, 3-4 hours with Attorney Doblon, one by one. And aside from that, they gave me a long list, one by one, up to the last 1 million. Whether you are FSI, whether you're UNACOM, whether you OSEC, whether you are in OWIR or cultural diplomacy, I assure you, I looked at each and every program and line item. I was not happy with concept notes. I asked for a work and financial plan. I asked them to justify the increase of their budget that they were asking. So I can stand for every increase, Mr. President, that they, I think, deserve as an agency for next year.
Is the department happy with your committee report? The level of the funding in the committee report?
They should be smiling, right? Yes, yes.
That's why I asked
believe that they're happy.
that's why I asked the question, because they didn't they were not smiling
Yes,
at that
because,
moment. Yeah.
because we started out with the passport fiasco, and so.
Okay.
at
But
12 minutes.
my question is, does the DFA have access to other funds to help it in with its expenditures? Like, I've encountered yung 3 funds. Are you able to access that for your PAPs, programs, activities, and projects? You have a passport revolving fund, you have a DFA working fund, and you have the building fund. So are these of benefit to you? Are you able to access the balances of the funds?
Mr. President, the building fund is part of the budget.
Okay, 1 billion.
Who's in charge?
Yeah, but building fund, we call it a building fund, but that's already part, whatever the amount may be in that building fund is already in the
It's
2024.
already part, yes.
And
it's part of the
that's
NEP.
one, according to my notes, it's 1B, tama po ba?
Yes, 1.0, yes, 1.0, 1054,
So
yes.
it's not an extra fund. How about the 2 other funds? Is the DFA empowered to access the balance of the 2 funds?
What's the other?
We have a DFA working fund and a DFA passport revolving fund.
We have access to that.
You have access to that, how much? They have access to the passport revolving fund, Mr. President.
Okay, the consular, your consular program is 9.2 billion in the GAA. Is that where you can augment or use the passport revolving fund?
It's separate, ma'am.
Yeah, the passport revolving fund is separate from the
Yes.
funds, but you can utilize it. They can augment, they can use it.
It's authorized, ma'am, under.
Yeah, ang ibig ko po sabihin, they have a consular program. Their budget is structured this way. They have a consular program at 9.2 billion pesos. Yung mga activities ba under that consular program are the same activities which can be funded from the DFA passport revolving fund?
No, ma'am,
The
except,
passport.
all, ma'am, except travel and representation.
Passport revolving, pwedeng travel?
No.
Magkano yung passport working?
Purchase of
Yes.
passports.
The passport revolving fund, yes, constituted from the fees collected from the processing and issuance of passports requiring special consideration waiver issuance beyond regular office hours shall be used to improve the passporting and consular service of a DFA in accordance with RA, what is this? 8239. Yes, Mr. President, but the travel and that you were asking and representation cannot be utilized by the passport revolving fund.
Okay, so pero for example, for 2024, do we intend to to access that passport revolving fund, and to what extent? Anong amount ang gagamitin natin?
Yes, because we pay some of our contractuals and also the personal benefits from.
Some of the contractuals and the personal benefits could be used by the passport revolving fund, which they will generate by next
Okay,
year.
so the purpose of the expenditure is not the same as those under the consular program. Iba pala. Iba po, no? So more of ano siya, more of sa MOE parang ano, compensation, tama po ba yan?
The consular program is a different front from the passport revolving fund.
No, I'm referring to the program consists of activities eh. The activities iba. Yeah, they cannot use the passport revolving fund to augment the activities funded by the consular program. Gamit ano para more on compensation. They will use it for compensation, allowances, benefits.
Okay, let me just put on record, Mr. President, the expenses that are allowed under the passport revolving fund, the wages of contractual employees,
Oo nga.
the personnel economic relief pera of contractual, overtime pay of contractual employees, year-end bonus and cash gift for contractual, clothing allowance of contractual employees, productive incentive benefits of contractual, and terminal leave benefits of contractual employees. Thank you.
Okay, so we can use that passport revolving fund for those expenses, and we intend to access that fund for next year. To what extent, how much? And then,
Well, the balance as of June 30 is 773.128 million. I don't think they can finish that next year. No, they will not utilize all of that for next
yeah,
year.
what's the plan? How much of that balance
Anong project?
will be used next year?
Yes, ma'am, about.
Siguro nakaplan naman po yan. May,
Yes, Mr. President,
ano yung working fund?
I am told that it's 456,796 that will be dispersed next year per year.
Senator,
Projected na.
okay, and then I think if the new passport law bill becomes a law, I think the inflow to the passport revolving fund will be greater. Is that correct?
With the new
Yes.
law.
Yes,
There will-
we
there will
discussed
be an
the
increase.
new passport bill. Law na ba yun? Napapirma na. It's not yet a law, yes.
Passport bill.
For BICAM, it's for BICAM.
Not more than 30% of the current fee.
250 pesos is a charge now, and under the bill, not more than 30% increase of that.
Then 30% from of the regular fees being charged, which is 950.
30%?
Not more than 30%.
Not more than 30% of the
Regular fees,
regular fees,
which is 950.
which is 950
pesos.
pesos.
49 rupees, ma'am.
So there's some increase, but not substantial.
Okay, but still, and it's favorable to the accumulation of an amount to that fund. Sige, okay.
Yes, Ms. Tatis
po.
ng konti, pero
Apo,
nothing
apo.
really.
So, it will not disrupt the historical inflow to the passport revolving fund. How about what is this working fund? Can that also help you to augment the GAA amounts?
Foreign cost, ina-authorize lang na gamitin kasi it's limit sa treasury. But that is covered by the appropriation in the general appropriation.
Return to treasury, huh?
Hindi ma'am. Instead of returning it, instead of remitting it to treasury. Ang mga foreign are allowed to retain the
May authority sila sa use of funds.
fund. But that is, ano yan ma'am, hangga sa appropriation sa they cannot exceed what is appropriated here.
I am told, I don't understand completely, that the foreign posts have income
Yes, ma'am.
and they are allowed to keep it
Yes, ma'am, and use it.
and use it as a working fund.
Instead of DBM sending them money.
I see. Instead of money coming from here and remitting it there, they can use it for expediency, yeah. But it should not exceed what is authorized in the GAA. So parang in advance.
Chargeable to the amounts appropriated in the GAA.
Appropriate sa GAA.
So,
Naka-appropriate sa GAA, they cannot exceed what is in the line item in the GAA.
Instead of, parang hindi na mag-release.
so parang magbo-book entry na lang ang DBM that
Yes,
it's
Mr.
as
President.
if-
Correct.
It's as if the amounts
Kasi
were
mahirap
related
pagpadala,
to
di ba?
the
Marami
DBM.
ng tanong-tanong, oo. So,
Okay po,
they
sige.
cannot exceed what is provided for in the GAA, but their income there
Yes.
is retained and cannot exceed what is approved under the GAA.
In case the collections are in excess of the GAA amounts,
Then
is
it's
the-
remitted to
is
Treasury.
the excess amount remitted to the Treasury or still retained but cannot be touched?
Remitted to Treasury?
It's retained at post, it's just a book entry. It's retained at post.
But if it exceeds,
Nasa post lang po and sometime.
used for next year? But not returned to Treasury? I correct myself, it is not returned to Treasury. If it exceeds the needs of that post, it can be transferred to another post. Kasi overseas na, nandiyan na yung pera kaysa ibalik pa dito.
Yeah, my point is nakakatulong. I mean, nakakatulong pala yung working fund for budgetary
For
support.
expediency, yes,
budgetary
Mr.
support.
President.
Okay. And historically, how much has been the support of the working fund to the budget of the DFA?
Our collection was 7 billion, but our budget is
Their collection last year was 7 billion, but their budget was 23 billion. And so, we still have to remit. We still have to send money to posts because the total collection overseas is only 7 billion. But the approved appropriations in AGAA is 23. So we still have to remit.
Okay. Ganun lang yun. Pero it's as if they collected for the, it's part of non-tax revenue. Huh? So when it
It's
comes to,
non-tax revenue.
yes, part of the receipt.
It's consular fees and
Revenues ba-
considered
sa-
non-tax
okay,
revenue.
yes, I will get
Yes,
it.
Mr. President.
So in effect, walang nakatagong any other source of funding pala talaga. It's really what we see in the GAA is the funding for our DFA. So, and since DFA is already satisfied with everything, so I think everything is in order, Mr. President. Before I go to the issue on our latest vote in the UNGA,
Ay, nako.
there's also an increase, a relatively big increase with the Foreign Service Institute. Relatively speaking po ito, given its existing budget and then the NEP, medyo malaki-laki. What do they intend to?
Magkano ang dinagdag ko? 0.5. Tulang.
let's do that. But
I didn't give all. 2 million. It's not a substantial increase. Where?
It's our committee report. We gave them additional 12 million.
Million.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. President.
Relatively speaking, it's big because the base amount is 82
Okay.
million. So wow.
So there's an increase for traveling, 1 million, training, 5 million, professional services, 1.5, MOE, 0.8, subscription expense, 3.7 million.
Ito po dapat suportahan natin. Ito yung nagtitraining natin mga
Yes.
diplomats which made them all professional and
Yes, Mr.
critical
President.
thinkers,
Yes, Mr. President.
alert.
Where's the head of the FSI?
Yes.
I thought you.
Yes, who is the head of the Foreign Service Institute?
You can stand up.
And how do we address him, ma'am? What's the position of the head of the Foreign Service Institute?
Mr. President, the Director General
Director
of the
General.
Foreign Service Institute.
We wish you all the best, sir. Kasi ang pangarap natin is, we punch above our weight class in the international arena. In my simple understanding of your structure, baka nakasalalay po sa FSI
Ang
ito.
hiningi nga nila 94? Ilan? 9
Billion?
Public
Service
Institute.
Ang binigay na.
Billion ba to?
No, okay. Let it be. So 12 is,
Yes,
They're
it's
happy.
reasonable.
you're happy with 12 million? Kala ko 2 lang binigay sa sa Sunny rin. Yes.
Yeah, we don't want them to be overwhelmed with funds that they cannot utilize their budget. Now, with the Technical Cooperation Council of the Philippines, the challenge is how to make this more relevant. Madam,
Remember,
Mr. President, yeah.
We were together during
Yes,
the
the budget.
hearing.
The budget is very reasonable, pero siyempre we want to make this more important, more relevant. And then sabi niyo, it's a technical assistance to the Pacific Islands yata. To the, how do you call that? How do you call that plane? Small island states.
It's South-South cooperation, but now we're focusing on
South-South
Pacific Islands. Pacific Islands.
Have we ever covered the Marshall Islands in our technical cooperation?
Yes. The Marshall Islands, yes,
Yeah.
is included.
Actually, ginamit ko po yun during the investigation of what committee? Led by the Justice Committee about the collision at ano ba yun? Dearborn, the collision with the Marshall Islands registered ship. Yes,
Assistant.
I appeal to the goodness of the heart of the Marshall Islands just to, immediately settle, compensate the victims, help them. And then I mentioned this particular council, that this is the proof that the Philippines has close relations with Marshall Islands. So palakasin po natin ito.
Where is TC? Who's the head of technical cooperation? We're helping the Marshall Islands.
Ano yun? Ano yung issue ng banggaan? Yung sa
And you said we're helping
Zambales Justice Committee.
the technical cooperation. Let me correct myself. The technical cooperation, the TCCP has not helped Marshall Islands, but the DFA itself, through ASPAC, the Asia Pacific desk, ang tawag nun, has helped Marshall Islands.
Okay. So I'm back to my original proposal, Mr. President, to make that council more relevant. So I was hoping na it would be relevant in that particular case, pero it turns out it is not. So palakasin po natin ito kasi sayang din po ito, yeah.
I would be happy to receive recommendations from the good secretary
Right,
and the
right.
minority leader as
Right.
well on how we can utilize more and make it more relevant. Yes.
So thank you for that. And then the presidential,
If you would like to have an augmentation of their budget with certain programs, we would be happy to receive it.
I think they should be more proactive, Madam Chair. I think they should reach out to brief us
Yes.
what they do and how they can be more relevant. Ganun.
Will
Mahirap kami mag-isip how to make them more relevant.
puntahan mo si Senator.
Challenge, let's just issue the challenge to the head of
I agree
the
with you.
council.
Yeah.
Sayang po kasi ganun yung situation eh. I'm sure the DFA knows about what happened there, diba? Yung Marshall Island registered vessel, tanamaan yung isa nating fishing vessel, therein, 3 Filipinos died. I think beyond territorial sea na yon. I think within EEZ pa yata yon. I mean, yes, a few kilometers beyond Bajo de Masinloc. Ano na nangyari? So I was appealing to them, don't be too legalistic kasi yung kanilang head ng kanilang maritime board is a Filipino of Marshall Islands. So I was appealing to the Marshall Islands government through our fellow Filipino who happens to be a member of their government or a maritime board to shortcut processes. Don't be too legalistic. Help already the victims. Wag nang hintayin yung determination of liability. So, and I was citing the closeness between the peoples of the Philippines and the Marshall Islands, our collaboration, the assistance that we have given the Marshall Islands. So mali ako, it's through the DFA, another program, not the Technical Cooperation Council. But at least meron tayong close relations with them. That's a fact. Is that a fact, or that's not an accurate statement of fact?
It is a fact, Mr.
It's a
President.
fact. Okay. Now, can I go to the Presidential Commission on Visiting Forces? Is that chief here at the head? Who is negotiating this reciprocal access agreement with Japan? Who is the lead negotiator or agency? Is it the Presidential Commission Visiting Forces? Is it the DFA? Is it the DND?
The Department of National Defense, the Department of Foreign Affairs, and the Department of Justice are negotiating the possible, what do you call it, RAA, the Reciprocal Access Agreement with Japan.
Yes, and the RAA is in the same nature of a VFA.
It's similar to a VFA.
If it becomes a treaty, will it fall now under? Will it expand now the responsibilities of the Presidential Commission on Visiting Forces?
For the U.S. Mr. President, I believe that the oversight committee bang tawag sa inyo, the Philippine Visiting Forces Agreement Bureau under the DFA was only created for the US VFA.
Okay.
I don't think it even, do you cover the SOVPA with Australia?
Yes.
Yan na nga, even Australia's covered. That's, yeah.
Are you sure? I think it's just a US VFA, right?
Kaya nga, so during our committee hearing, it was established it's both our VFAs with US and Australia. Yan po, that is the Presidential
So
Commission
you're correct in saying,
making sure. So ang
assuming,
tanong ko, assuming the RAA becomes a treaty, it's in the nature of a VFA, will that be under your commission? Okay. And the function of your commission is to make sure that what?
Serves the nation.
it's a commission to look into the exercise of the function of the treaties we entered into for visiting forces, namely the US VFA and the Status of Forces Agreement with Australia.
Is the commission head in the loop? You know the developments in the RAA negotiations.
Just so that you know, the commission head
Yes,
during
you're
our
not involved
hearing,
nga. I know you're not formally involved. The head is not formally involved.
No,
Yes.
it's a different person now.
Yes.
Bago po, pinalitan. Kaya kakaupo lang po October.
Yeah. Actually, what I'm telling you is be interested na in the terms, Mr. President. Well, anyway, the terms are still confidential. We cannot divulge the terms.
Is a question on the reciprocal access?
Yes, with Japan.
Yes. We know that last November 3, during the bilateral meeting, Mr. President, between Prime Minister Kishida Fumio and the President Marcos, the Philippines and Japan agreed to commence the formal negotiation on the Reciprocal Access Agreement, or the RAA. So the Status of Visiting Forces Agreement, or the RAA with Japan, was a commitment made at the inaugural of the Philippine-Japan Foreign and Defense Ministerial meeting in April of 2022. And it was reiterated during the President's official visit to Japan in February of this year. So Japan highlighted the need to find a way to handle sensitive and critical issues, specifically on criminal jurisdiction of Philippine and Japan forces, as the Philippines does not have death penalty, unlike Japan. So once both sides have reached an understanding and found possible ways to deal with the death penalty issue, and the presence of counsel during interrogation, a formal decision can be made to commence the RAA negotiation. So we're just, malayo pa po, check muna because paano ba yun? Isa may death penalty, isa wala. So wala pa talagang masyadong negotiations, no?
We are going to commence negotiations.
They will still commence negotiations, formal negotiations. So it's just consultation. Consultation is ongoing among the DFA, the DOJ, and the DND in response to Japan's questions on this critical issue. There has been an initial virtual meeting between Philippines and Japan. So we also received a copy, a special authority to negotiate the RAA in favor of select officials. And this is the special authority. I have it here. I don't need to read the names into the record, but this is the special authority. So it's very new. It's still consultations. All we know is that there are 3 agencies in charge. There's no formal negotiations yet, and that important issue, because one has death penalty, the other country, we don't have.
Yes.
So let's see if there will actually be negotiations. And usually negotiations take so long, several months, even years, right? Years.
Although my distinguished colleagues, I'm part of those who are pushing for the RAA with Japan. The RAA with Japan will have a precedence with Australia because Australia does not agree to the death penalty. So Australia, after several years of negotiations, has come up with a template. I had spoken to the Australian ambassador, and it is a template that can be used by the Philippines when it comes to dealing with heinous criminals of both sides, being done either in their country or in our country. Although our country no longer has a death penalty, but there is a special template for Australia as well as the UK. There is also a reciprocal access agreement for the UK and Japan, and UK also does not have the death penalty. So meron na pong template on how to deal with that issue.
Thank you for that, Mr. President.
And from the DFA's perspective, when does it intend to involve the Senate in the RAA, in the issue of the RAA? Because the Senate plays a part in foreign policy.
Yes, Mr. President, of course, it is considered a treaty, and we will need to concur with it. It will be sent here. But as I said, it's still starting. Negotiations have not even started, and they anticipate that by next year, hopefully, according to the Secretary, that negotiations will be finished by 2024, after which there's a long process until such time that it reaches the Senate for concurrence.
Yeah, so it
No,
is
not concurrence, it's for the
ratification.
concurrence in the
And
ratification.
Yes,
Yes.
that's correct. So it's the same old template. I thought we would be more proactive, Mr. President. The DFA will involve us earlier since the Senate also has a role in foreign policy
Yes.
determination. So I was disappointed with the answer. So sana more
No, I will,
involve the Senate earlier. The Senate President is very interested in the
Mr.
topic.
President, you don't have to be disappointed because I was going to finish my statement. That as early as now, they can actually schedule a briefing with us on where we're at, on the benefits of the RAA, on the sticky points, sensitive issues, if any, and we can actually, because they will still negotiate treaty. Remember, when we concur in a treaty, and you know this very well, we just have to say yes or no. And so while they will still commence negotiations, it is important that we already tell the executive department what are our concerns so that this can be made part and parcel of the negotiations. The Senate President is very actively supportive of this. I am not certain if Your Honor is supportive of this, but everyone's recommendations on how to make sure that this RAA would benefit the Philippines, I think, is in order. So perhaps after the deliberations on the budget, we can ask the Foreign Affairs Department to brief us on the RAA.
Maybe just to add even further, to support the position of the minority floor leader, I think I know where the Minority Floor Leader is going to, is that if we can actively also support or assist in the draft, making of the draft. So it will also be smoothened out in the deliberations on the floor
Yes.
here. And we might even get those who are skeptical might even be able to vote with us. Comes the time, when the time comes rather, that this is taken up on the floor. I guess, there are certain constitutional issues that Senator Coco Pimentel would like probably to be addressed by, the RAA. And, I don't think it would hurt, Secretary, to maybe we can have a small, we can come up with a technical working group from the Senate to support, no, to join in the discussion so that their good minority floor leader can be briefed time to time, and of course his inputs can be listened to and hopefully considered for the draft reciprocal access agreement.
Actually, Mr. President, I am not really limited by the subject matter. I'm not interested in the earlier involvement of the Senate because it's the RAA. It's because it's a recognition of the fact that the Senate plays a role in the foreign policy determination of our country. So we should not be treated as a passive entity waiting for the final product, and then we give it's either our approval or our rejection of the final product. Involve us in the earlier stages so we can, shape also foreign policy.
That's a
Mr.
very good
President.
suggestion.
It's not because of the RAA, Mr. President.
Yes, that's a very good suggestion because unlike the US VFA in 1999, where the Senate, I believe, was not consulted, and same with the status of forces agreement of Australia, I don't recall having been part of it. It was simply the executive department. Perhaps, of course, it would be better because it would come to us eventually. And we don't want something that they worked hard on for several years to be rejected if there are very sensitive issues. So to include the Senate even before the negotiations start, I think that's a wise suggestion.
Let this be the Manalo legacy, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Absolutely, why not?
We can come up,
Be more proactive.
yes,
Yeah.
we can come up with a working relationship.
Yes.
An arrangement, Mr. President. Not for us to micromanage or to veto or to control you, but
Yes.
involve us. That's the point. Involve the Senate where it is appropriate as early as possible, Mr. President. So, at the end of the day, Mr. President, sige, last point na lang po. Of course, what's happening in Israel, Gaza Strip is really, anong tawag mo doon, involving a lot of Filipinos. We're expressing grave concerns about what we see, what we hear, what is reported, Mr. President. And siguro, marami sa ating kababayan na medyo nababahala sa mga nangyayari, concerned sa mga kapwa natin Pilipino na sa Israel at meron din pong Pilipino na sa Gaza. But we are not that myopic na Filipino lives lang po yung concern natin. We're also concerned about Israeli lives and Palestinian lives. At nakikita natin ang great loss of lives. Nakikita po natin. And then we now encounter the report of the Philippine vote in the UN General Assembly on, during the 10th Emergency Special Session, Agenda Item number 5. Illegal Israeli actions in occupied East Jerusalem and the rest of the occupied Palestinian territory. So, and as far as we know, the Philippines abstained. So, can we just get an explanation of our vote, Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. President. Okay. I must answer you with caution that first I will read the statement of a DFA. And because I am tasked as a senator to defend the budget of the DFA, I will read it. I have told the Secretary of Foreign Affairs from the day that I read our abstention, of my personal feelings. I will not impose my values, my beliefs, my pain to the DFA because I understand the work that they have to do. So let me just do my work and I will perhaps speak about my feelings after this if need be. So the Philippines, I will read a DFA statement just so that it's on the record. The Philippines has issued a number of statements on the developments in Israel and Gaza in solidarity with the global community in calling for swift action to address the scale of human suffering that is affecting populations on both sides. The Philippines, together with the members of ASEAN and the Gulf Cooperation Council, issued a leader's statement on the subject on October 20 during the ASEAN GCC summit in Riyadh. The Philippines delivered two statements this week in New York during the UN Security Council open debate on October 24, the 10th Emergency Special Session on October 27. The resolution adopted by the UN General Assembly on October 27 has many elements. In fact, they agreed on many elements which the Philippines supports. We supported the efforts of Canada to include a factual mention in the resolution of the attack of October 7, in which Filipinos were killed. And there's also 2 Filipinos missing, right? As of now, still missing. The proposal of Canada sought to achieve, again, this is the words of DFA, more balance in the draft with a condemnation of the October 7 attack by Hamas, which is based in Gaza, that killed more than 1,400 innocent civilians, including Filipinos, working and living in Israel. This was supported by 88 states, but it fell short, unfortunately, of 8 more votes that would have seen this critical element reflected in the important adopted UN resolution. We continue to support efforts of the UN, particularly the UN Security Council, the UN humanitarian system, and the global community to decisively address this crisis and put a stop to the alarming deaths of Palestinians and Israelis as well. Because one life lost is one life lost too many, regardless of religion or creed, citizenship or nationality. And we want to see the suffering in Gaza, in the West Bank, even in Israel, in other parts of the world to a halt. So having said that, I read the DFA statement and I may not agree with abstaining on the vote. If it were I would have voted in favor of a ceasefire. It's not meant to be. I'll stop there.
So, thank you with that response, Mr. President. So I think it's time to stop, Mr. President. So just as last year, we expressed our support to the DFA and we wish them all the best. We likewise do the same for this year and for. So have a good year next year, Mr. Secretary, and the DFA. Just tell us how we can extend our full support to the DFA. You are once again, you are the cream of the crop. You are the face of the Philippines to the rest of the world. So you should be our best representatives, Mr. President, to the world community. So we are here to support you. Be the best.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me just clarify, I don't want to be emotional because I am in favor of a humanitarian ceasefire so that no more innocent lives, regardless of nationality, will be lost, and so that as well, the hostages held by Hamas, there must be negotiations. So I stand with the United Nations Secretary General's call for a human pause and a human corridor so that medicines and supply can be brought into Gaza. But I will not venture into that. I just want it very, very clear. I stand with the United Nations Secretary General's unceasing call every day for a humanitarian pause and ceasefire. But I respect the Department of Foreign Affairs decision, and it was explained to me thoroughly and clearly by the Secretary of Foreign Affairs because there are Filipinos who are still missing, and we must be able to communicate very clearly and diplomatically with Israel because they are in that jurisdiction. So I
And,
just wanted to make it clear, Mr.
I understand completely, Mr. President, and the casting of a vote should be taken in the context. They were voting on a statement, on a resolution with particular words. So, haba-haba yun. So we should understand that, it's not a simple
Yes or no.
black or white,
It's
Mr.
not a simple
President.
yes or no.
So we understand, but I just solicited an explanation from the DFA.
And for the record, I'd like to ask the secretary, how many Filipinos are working in Israel? 30 plus
There are
thousand
30,000 Filipinos in Israel.
in Israel, yes, that's right. And I believe they're treated very well there. Is that correct, Secretary?
The first 40 in Gaza have exited already.
I'm talking about their Filipino workers.
The way to the
I think they're paid
Philippines.
very well in
Yes,
Israel.
yes, yes.
Anyway, we'd like to thank our minority floor leader. I know that's a very touchy and sensitive topic, so we can leave it at that.
Yeah.
But before we end the budget, majority floor leader, I would just like to put on record our deepest appreciation to the men and women of the DFA, particularly in the embassy in London, in the United Kingdom, headed by Ambassador Teddy Boy Locsin, who I know is a bit controversial for certain statements. But we thank him nevertheless for assisting us in our parliamentary visit together with his very capable and dedicated staff of the DFA, together with the embassy in Spain, headed by Ambassador Philip Lulier, and his staff as well. I'd like to put that on record. We thank them from the bottom of our hearts for taking good care of us, together with the Ambassador Sima Franca of Budapest, Hungary, who's doing a yeoman's job of taking care of, I think, 7 Eastern European countries, together with his very capable staff. They're wonderful people, each and every one are great ambassadors from the Philippines. Once again, maraming salamat. To the men and women, maraming salamat sa inyong serbisyo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank the minority leader for his questions, which only help the department. And rest assured that we will make sure that the TCCP that you requested would brief you so that they could be more proactive. And the DFA will also form a working group for the discussion on the visiting forces agreement with Japan. Thank you
very much.
Mr. President, before I move for the right motion, Mr. President, may I just ask one question, Mr. President? First, Mr. President, when the law was passed in creating that legal assistance fund, I think it was in 1995, if I'm not mistaken, because for several years, the budget for the legal assistance fund is 200 million plus the assistance to national fund, which is 1 billion pesos. I would just like to put into the record, Mr. President, distinguished colleague, that we have been receiving a lot of complaint about this legal retainers that the embassy's been hiring. So perhaps I will no longer ask questions, but perhaps give us a report as to how we are reviewing, assessing, Mr. President, the quality and performance of the services rendered by our existing legal retainers. Why? Because just recently, I would just give one example, Mr. President. A son of an OFW who reported that the lawyer assigned by the embassy in Kuwait did not facilitate the OFW's indemnity and passport, Mr. President. And because of this, it led to the OFW's eventual deportation due to her lack of proper documents. So, again, bottom line lang, Mr. President, distinguished colleague, may pondo po tayo dyan, and noong nakaraang mga pagdinig, I'm sure alam niya Yusek Vega when we pointed out the earlier report of DFA, na dated January of 2023, yung one of the concerns raised during the hearing, yung record po ng zero acquittals, di ba? USEC by DFA based on the report to Congress as of June 2022. Pero later on, it was clarified. It was clarified nung report ng February 2, 2023 after collating information from its Foreign Service post that it has obtained a total of 556 acquittals from 2018 to 2022, 135 yung na-obtain in 2022. So just wanted to put that on record, and moreover, yung legal services natin are likewise rendered, we were informed then, before the commencement of actual trials wherein they try to have cases compromised or settled already before reaching the courts, which is commendable, Madam Chair, Mr. President. Yun lang po, merong complaints na nakukuha tayo. Siguro hindi naman na ikakaila. We sponsored and authored the establishment of the Department of Migrant Workers. Nung tinayuho natin yung bagong bahay na yun, hindi natin pinakailaman yung turf ng DFA at siniguro natin na under po sila ng mga ating embahada because we continue to adhere to the one country, one country team approach. There you go. Mag-aalauna na ho kasi. Yun lang po, no? Siguro, masiguro lang po natin, Ginoong Pangulo, na meron tayong review at assessment, yung quality and performance of the services being rendered by our existing legal retainers. Dahil itong Legal Assistance Fund started 1995, 200 million po ito. At tayo always ready to support, and bago tayo ma-misinterpret sa Department of Foreign Affairs, the reason why we're still here at this time is because we are supporting the Department of Foreign Affairs. Sana makita nyo rin po yun. And the reason why we are recalling the budget of PSA, because we believe in your report kanina na sinabi nyo nga po, authenticated, sinabi na PSA ito, kaya namin sila nire-recall at nais namin silang ipatawag because of our respect and our belief in the capacity and competencies of our human resources in the Department of Foreign Affairs. So I just wanted to put that on record.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, with that, there being no other reservation for interpellation, I move that we close the period of interpellations and debate and consider the budget of the Department of Foreign Affairs, Office of the Secretary, Foreign Service Institute, Technical Cooperation Council of the Philippines, UNESCO National Commission of the Philippines, and Presidential Commission on Visiting Forces to be deemed submitted for the body's consideration. I so move, Mr. President.
There being no objection to the motion, the budgets of the aforementioned agencies are deemed submitted. Congratulations.
May I move for a minute suspension, Mr. President?
Would you want to suspend the budget already or?
Suspend? Yeah.
Oh, session suspended for 1 minute.
it's 12:46 a.m., Mr. President, and perhaps it's also but proper to right now move that we suspend the session until 10 o'clock in the morning of Monday, November 13, 2023. So move, Mr. President.
There be no, well, we'll
Sorry,
suspend the
Mr.
budget
President.
siguro.
May I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill number 8980 under Committee Report number 155. So move,
There
Mr.
be no
President.
objection, motion is approved.
Move for the previous question to
Yes.
suspend the session until 10 o'clock in the morning, Monday, November 13, 2023.
There be no objection. The session is suspended until 10 a.m. Monday, November 13, 2023. Have a safe weekend, everyone.